Hello, and thank you for joining us on the first edition of Journalist Hangout this week. I am Ayodele Ozubakun. Today on the program, Buhari orders Kachikwu and Baru to work together as presidency seeks to end the NNPC contract saga. And later on the program, billionaire kidnapper Evans claimed police extorted more than 50 million naira and sexually assaulted his girlfriend. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Tunde Abaton, and possibly Gani Kayode Balogun will be joining us. Journalist Hangout starts in a moment. Welcome back. The NNPC has always earned the attention of the nation without sweet for the wrong reason. Everyone seems concerned about what goes on there. Yet, we can't explain how we get robbed by those who manage the corporation and their political bodies. Many have argued that it would take an angel to steer the affairs of the corporation without having a scandal. That much awaited angel came on board on the 29th of May 2015, and sanity was expected to prevail. But the supposed sanity was not destined to last, and the public fight between the Minister of Petroleum and Ibi Kachikwu and the GMD of NNPC, Makanti Baru, proved it so. But after weeks of counter allegations, both gladiators and the public backlash, the presidency has finally waded into the rifts. President Muhammadu Buhari has ordered both men to work together. Was Kachikwu's allegation made out of thin air? In the first place, why did it really take the president so long to wade into the matter? Has there been any investigation conducted to confirm or refute Kachikwu's claim? I'd like to put this question to you, Babajide. Why did it take Mr. President this long to tell both of them to work together? And have they really verified those allegations beyond the contract, beyond the $25 billion, those allegations bordering on postings and, a lot of issues raised by Kachikwu?
Yes, I think that the president, this story, first and foremost, is from Kachikwu. He went to somewhere in the southeast and they interviewed him and he said, yes, the president has spoken to us and ordered us to find a way to work together. And that the president said, if indeed there were cases of insubordination in the past, that it will no longer happen. So the president gave him that assurance that cases of insubordination will no longer happen now that he has intervened. I think it's exactly what some of us wanted the president to do, that you've appointed a Minister of State for Petroleum, you made him the chairman of the board of the NNPC. Therefore, you should let him exercise that role, let him function in the capacity that you have put him. We can't have a situation in which someone is GMD of NNPC, he sits in his capacity as chairman of GMD of NNPC, and he functions as the chairman of the Internal Tenders Board of NNPC, and then the Minister of State in that ministry cannot exercise any form of leverage over him, cannot correct him, cannot regulate him in any way. It is dangerous to give a Nigerian this kind of powers, because we know that, yes, the president addresses himself as Minister of Petroleum, but he has not got the time to do due diligence on a daily basis in that corporation, in that ministry. What it then means is that Makanti Baru will have become the Minister of Petroleum, because the president simply can't, he does not even have the time to function in that capacity. So whatever he brings before the president will now approve because the president has faith in him. But there ought to be someone who will be able to regulate what they do, will be able to do something like oversight on him. I want to believe that that is the role that Kachikwu should have. So for the people who are really involved in this battle, trying to say that Baru has done no wrong, I can only pity them, because from the beginning they've chosen to address only the issue of
contracts,
so-called contracts. There is the issue of appointments made. They refuse to talk about that. Even the NNPC, in his response to Kachikwu, chose to be silent on that, which in my view suggests that they know that Baru was guilty on that. So if the president has now said, you two must work together, because we suggested here that if the two of them can't work together, then the president should dismiss both men. And I think Femi Falana also said the same thing. You can't have two persons who are working across opposites in that very important sector. So if the president has told them, according to Kachikwu, that they must find a way to work together, and that the issue of insubordination would not happen again, which means that Baru would have been told that, look, carry your Minister of State along in the running of the affairs of of that ministry. Lessons have been learned, and for people who are tearing their hair and saying all kinds of things, I've seen even people say no, there are no contracts. But maybe we'll go into that as we go on. It is an unimaginable waste of words to say that no contracts, this and that, because it suggests clearly that those saying all that do not even know the meaning of contract. We'll go into the meaning of contract as we go on.
All right. Today, when you look at the atmosphere, the reactions of Nigerians and this cut across board from Arewa community, from the southwest and everything, and this government, a lot of people feel that, at the exception that this government will be known for good governance, corporate governance, everything must be done according to due process, and where anybody is found to have breached that law, that person will be duly punished. But this is not the Buhari we saw at, when it started out. Now we are now seeing this other side go and work together, and the minister has raised serious issues. I expect that it's just about getting a third party to go and investigate those allegations raised.
Well, I think we have to get something clear. When we look at the history of this country, people at the helm of affairs have a tendency of giving somebody power and withdrawing that power from behind. Because if really the Minister of State is supposed to be the head of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, then every other organ, every other agency under the Ministry of Petroleum Resources is supposed to come under that of the minister, whether it's a junior minister or not. A minister is a minister. But then one would have thought that probably when the president was traveling out of the country, he has withdrawn that aspect of the power that he gave the acting president. Because if the argument of those people who are saying Baru is right is that maybe the president gave him power, he gave the power, he transmitted that power to the vice president, who automatically doubled as the Minister of Petroleum Resources in reverse. So what all this thing boils down to is that we have a tendency of unnecessarily personalizing governance in Nigeria. The moment the president has traveled out, let the person that is in charge take authority and take control of every other organ of government that is under his control. If that one is the case, but the NNPC GMD has no power whatsoever to override or to do anything without the knowledge of the Minister of State for power. If the Minister of State is not just there for decoration. Having said that, and I think this thing happened, maybe one of the reasons why this former Minister for Petroleum, late now, Ridwan Lukman, rejected, he resigned from former President Obasanjo's government, because he saw that he was not actually in control of the NNPC. There's no way a minister can be there without being in control. If you are not in control, if the level of power is being control from somewhere, which means we are destroying institutions. And when this government came on board with the mantra that there's a change, and that change has to be reflected in the institution. Because when you are building power around personality, this is what happens, which means the power in the Ministry of Petroleum is given to the group managing director of NNPC and not the substantive Minister of State for Power. So when we do all this kind of thing, there's no way you can build any institution. I think the president should reconsider either leaving that ministry to somebody that he has power in, because this issue will continue. Bring another person as the GMD of NNPC, you will continue to undermine the Minister of State, or you cancel the office of the Minister of State, which means there is no Minister of State. He reports directly to the president, who doubles as and like he said, it is not possible to have the best of two worlds. You cannot be the president and commander-in-chief of the country that is called Nigeria at this time when there are a lot of issues that are begging for your attention. And at the same time, exercise maximum supervision over the NNPC or the petroleum that is seen to be laying 80% of Nigeria resources. It is not possible. And going through what we have gone through in the last 2 years, I doubt it whether the GMD will have been able to do what Kachikwu did.
Judy, is it that Mr. President looked at what happened in the last administration and saw that we had a very strong Minister of Petroleum, that nobody could check the hand of that Minister of Petroleum as Desiani Alisimari in that administration, and after the tenure of that government, we discovered that the Minister of Petroleum actually, it was alleged, actually helped herself in several other ways and everything. Do you think the president was looking at that so that he will just curb any excesses? That's why he took that portfolio himself? Not looking how he's going to function, but just to make sure that the minister does not have the kind of power that Desiani wielded as at that time.
Oh, I don't think he can even achieve his aim. It's because we always think that, if we have macho men in place, we are not focusing on building institutions. We are not focusing on how we can stop corruption from happening in our land. We just think that if we put a Magu somewhere, it will stop corruption. If we put a Buhari somewhere, it will stop corruption. No.
They'll just be fighting.
I said it even before Buhari read his first budget, that his first budget, they are going to show him that if he likes, let him put guns to people's necks, they will steal through his first budget. I said it. It's recorded. And that's exactly what happened. So we must stop focusing on putting so-called powerful people in to head institutions. Like we have the customs man. We must focus on building those institutions and ensuring
so that anybody that is there,
it becomes difficult
for anybody
that is there.
It becomes.
I've given the example of an African pride, a country that I feel is an African pride before. They've had different presidents now. I'm talking about Botswana. Different. But you will find that the system that had been there has been sustained. And that system ensures that good governance is sustained and the country continues on the path of progress. That is what we should be after. There are countries in the world. That is why sometimes when I say I agree that stealing is not corruption, there are some countries that have actually defeated corruption, but they've not defeated stealing. Because they've created systems that make it extremely difficult for corruption to take place in the public service. Extremely. Although some of those Scandinavian countries, but they can't stop stealing because within your home, stealing can happen. But in terms of corruption, go and read about some of those countries. Norway, you see that corruption is almost non-existent. Because of the systems that they are put in place. They will make it extremely difficult for you to be involved in corruption. So that is the point that one is making. So the president, assuming the position of oil minister, does not mean that he can stop corruption in that sector. No. Desiani became powerful because the president, the man who was president, decided to look other way and allowed organized brigandage to continue in our country. So if we had a president who was really supervising that ministry and ensuring that only actions that are lawful can take place or can actually be carried out by the minister. The extent to which Desani went, Desani would not have been able to go because even some of the ministers who served in that administration said that Desani was more or less like a law unto herself. That sometimes they will be having meetings and Desani will just get up. We won't even take permission from people. She will just walk out of Jonathan's meeting. So the kind of relationship that allows a minister...
Fabio even confirmed that she doesn't pick her call.
Yes.
They will be calling her.
They may not even pick her Fabio's call. You know, you are not... you see, what, must she pick your call? But the thing is, if she doesn't pick your call, as long as she works for us as a people, and she does the work well, I'm not against that. But the kind of president that we had was the kind of president who winked at corruption. You know, so because of that, legalized brigandage was the order of the day. So in such a situation, you will create a lot of Jezanis out of the system. So that is what happened.
We'll quickly take this breather. When we come back, we'll discuss more. It's still journalist Hangout. Stay with us. Welcome back. GKB is joining us. Let's come on.
Yeah.
GKB, we've been looking at, the president actually asked Kachikwu and Baru, according to Kachikwu, that they asked them to go and work together and make sure everything, worked and everything. But we Nigerians, we owe it a responsibility that, especially the media, that Kachikwu raised some fundamental issues. Yeah. That it goes beyond. Yes, it goes beyond Mr. President. Make sure you work together. Make sure you guys go and work together. No, we feel that should not be the end of the story.
It's not even money alone that
in fact, I felt like we've gone back in time to the PDP years, where they treat matters like this as a family affair. And this is essentially what the president is saying. That whatever you've raised is not earth-shaking enough. It's not really that big that I have to deal with your subordinates for subordination. Whatever you have raised is not so earth-shaking that I have to do stuff that Nigerians expected me to do. All I will do is that I'll pat you on the back and tell you to go back to work. Normally, in the same society, Kachikwu will have left this government because he put his reputation on the line, whether in secret or it was leaked, doesn't matter. We've known ministers in other climes that have left governments simply because what they said that they said, when there is no proof, otherwise to prove. But we are in Nigeria, where nobody resigns on the platter of principle. It's not in our blood. It's not in our nature. And I'm sure that, knowing the Nigerian mentality, in the next few weeks, they'll give us another diversion. I will forget something that has, because this is the first real test of the integrity mantra of the Buhari administration. And they failed woefully. Because if nobody is being dealt with, if it's taking government weeks to come up with a position, and they're coming up with cacophony of voices, one from the office of the vice president, one from the other, then realize.
Gamadu and all of that.
And you know that we are in deep trouble.
I think it's because they've seen now that all attempts to make it look like one person is guilty, the other person has done no wrong, has failed. In fact, every attempt to make it look like, oh, Kachikwu is wrong, makes more Nigerians to think that, look, there's something to hide. And that's why I said from the beginning that the handling of this matter was wrong. There was no need to tell that former NTA staff to go and write something, a statement, accusing the minister of raising baseless claims and all that. Even if he raised baseless claims, even if he raised baseless claims, it was not in that man's place at all to abuse.
It's not even his place to write.
Because we are referring to the boss of his boss.
It's not possible to write.
We can't all lose our heads in Nigeria and not realize that certain things are wrong. It's just like now, Laolu Akonde issuing a statement abusing the president. Is that conceivable?
No, it's not possible.
Because there's a quarrel, maybe the quarrel between the president. You remember that during Obasanjo's time,
Yes.
Obasanjo had a quarrel with Kachikwu.
Onukaba Ojo.
Chris Mama was asked to do
Chris Mama
Yes,
was-
Even
even
Lebare, Onukaba
They were
Ojo.
asked to choose sides.
Yes, we had to sack them. They
Obasanjo
were
said,
sacked.
look, there is only one presidency.
Yes.
You know? So, but for one of them to now issue a statement abusing the boss of their boss,
of their boss.
it's unheard of.
It's just
This kind of thing shouldn't be happening in our country. And we should know that there are bounds of decency that people should not
There are
exceed.
rules of engagement.
That you can't, because I can't understand it. To send my own junior to abuse my boss.
That press statement would have been signed by Baru himself.
By Baru himself.
No,
or
or whatever it is worth.
I think Jide is right on one area but wrong on the other. You are talking about a normal situation.
I started my
You have to
statement
put the
by saying,
caveats.
yes, I started by saying that it is not done.
It's not done.
It's not done. So that means that I totally realize that this thing from the beginning was not done the right way. And that's why they are running from pillar to post. With this matter, Nigerians are still talking about it because from the beginning, this will have been handled.
I thought by now the
quietly.
thing would have settled down.
No, it won't, because all this,
Unfortunately,
look, between Friday and now, they've issued so many press statements on this same matter. And before now, Ugamadu himself released like 3. They were just responding to the man.
I think the problem is essentially that of ego. And it's wrong. I think the president is guilty of this. Most of the people that he handpicked for certain positions have behaved in the last 2 years as if they above the law. Either they refuse to report to their supervising minister, or they are telling us they cannot do certain things. And they get away with it. And that to me is the wrong signal for a government that is bent on change. Because if you push shove will come to push one day. Because ultimately somebody
I think
will
that the president has told them, go and work together. And now I want to see whether another person will issue a ridiculous letter or anything. From
No, that one should
end.
be fired if
And
that one happens.
I'm happy. Even Kachikwu himself said, no, I wasn't talking about money. I'm talking about processes.
If you remember our discussion
good
this morning,
governance.
Jide, that it is process that got Body George into trouble.
Yes,
with
not that he
Justice
stole money.
Oyewole. Do you understand?
Yes.
Although it was overturned by the Supreme Court,
Yes.
but it was this protest, contract splitting.
I know that because against the procurement act.
James Singilari, it was this process, the cars that he was meant to sell. So sometimes
You can't even on your own, you can't even initiate contracts and sit as chairman of the internal tenders board, and then have the contracts cleared and go straight to the president,
think if they have
who is
that-
not likely to even raise any
if
objection.
they have that on the statute book of NNPC, I think they have to do something about it.
Well,
That is wrong.
Well, I think
No, it depends on how you even interpret the NNPC Act. Because Femi Falana quoted Section 6C, which vests power in the NNPC board, the NNPC board, you know, matters of contract and all that. But some people will now go and look at another section that appears to even contradict that.
I know, I understand. I understand. We take this quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still journalist Hangout. Please stay with us. Welcome back. I'd like to welcome those joining us from our terrestrial platform. This is Journalistic Hangout. We're reaching you live from Television Continental here in our headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria, and we're looking at the crisis between NNPC and the Minister of Petroleum, Tunde Abaton. We're making recommendations on how we are going to nip this whole thing and how to make sure in future. I think our started book, the NNPC Act, is quite contradictory.
Well, I think you must come to equity, must actually come with clean hands. The president, the onus still rests on the president to make sure that those people that are in position of responsibility are allowed to exercise their power. And that whoever is the GMD of the NNPC or any other organ of government, because this thing is not happening in NNPC alone. You'll be surprised that similar things like this will be happening in the Ministry of Transport, when you have a powerful GMD who will not respect his minister and take files to the president. Otherwise, the moment we still allow this kind of thing to happen, we are destroying the system, and we are not likely to develop as a country. Because when institutions are subverted, for instance now, if a judge felt that a particular case was assigned to him, instead of taking it to the chairman of the NGC, who happens to be the Chief Justice of Nigeria, I now go and report to the Minister for Justice, and the Minister of Justice appointing judges or asking judges to take over. Wow. You can imagine what is happening. So the president, yes, like he has said, maybe we had a former president who could not have a firm grip on the oil industry. It's not enough reason for you to appoint a lame duck as the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, and you are now make the GMD to undermine, because what the man has done is to have undermined his minister. And it means that, you know, the first day the thing happened, I sent a post to the media that the man should resign. Some of his kinsmen who thought I was against him started abusing me, that why should he resign? If it is a Yoruba man, will he resign? I said, you don't seem to have head. If you are sensible, the man has integrity. We read so much about the CV of pedigree of Kachikwu. Now, in a normal society, if he resigns tomorrow, he will not be a jobless man.
We are looking at the acting president, a spokesman, Laula Kande, actually this weekend actually shed more light on this, and they were trying to just do what we call damage control. So what are they really saying? Nothing was missing, no money was missing, it's not a contract. So just painting a picture that it was like a storm in a teacup, that it shouldn't be taken out of context that way.
Again, I didn't expect that from the Vice President. I think what the government is trying to do is to say, see, we are all together in this. Now, the mention of money, you know, by Kachikwu is what has really made many Nigerians to be really, really interested in this matter. So they are trying to now say, look, these are not contracts involving the expenditure of NNPC funds and all that. But the issue is, why not keep quiet on this matter? You've explained that everyone had you when you went to the South, and you said you did not approve contract. They had you. Why go back to it again and make it still look like, oh, they are not contracts? But the reality is, if people know the true meaning of contracts, you cannot say that even what the president, those JVCs are not contracts. Because look, I will give you.
They are based on contracts.
Now, the Vice President was saying, prospective off-takers of crude oil and supplies of petroleum are selected under agreed terms and in agreement with due process. What do you mean by agreed terms?
Contracts.
It's a contract.
It's contract. The legal union of husband and wife.
It's a contract.
It's a contract. Even the president that we have accepted that he should be our president, we voted for him, we said, you stay there. It's called social contract. So I'm seeing people wasting words unnecessarily, hitting their heads against the wall and saying that, oh, these are no contract, oh, Babajide was wrong, that one was wrong. And I just look at them. What is the meaning of contract? A contract is an agreement between two or more parties to perform a specific job or work order, often temporary or of fixed duration, and usually governed by a written agreement. Are we saying that the transaction between us and Shell and Chevron, that there is no written agreement to go with it? Because if there is a written agreement to go to show that you have an obligation, Shell has an obligation, Chevron has an obligation, Nigeria has an obligation. So once you have all that in place, it's a contract. So let's not just stop deceiving ourselves and running from pillar to post and saying these are not contracts. They are contracts. And it's not all, the Vice President said that they do not involve any expenditure from the NNPC. Not all contracts involve expenditure. Because the legal union of husband and wife, for example, is a contract, but it doesn't involve money.
Even you are your driver, it's a contract.
So it's just let this matter just die, and because I don't understand.
GKB, moving forward now, what's relevance with the PIB and efforts in the past to sanitize the petroleum sector?
Well, like we said on this program last year, even if the PIB is promulgated today, Nigerians the very next day will look for the loophole and they will exploit it. Because even the Petroleum, the NNPC Act was meant to make sure that there is minimal interference from political overlords in the affairs of the corporation. And you can see how this thing is being turned upside down to isolate a particular member of government. So even if PIB is dusted and signed, knowing the Nigerian factor, we will look for a loophole and we will distort it. But the way forward, like I said, I've always believed, and I've told people in the past, that the Ministry of Petroleum Resources is a duplication of NNPC. Because the ministry that oversees only one resource, and there's a corporation created specifically for that resource. So it would be better for them to be Ministry of Energy, and then you could include power. So that you know anything that has to do with oil, gas, electricity, anything that has to do with power will come under them. It's like creating a minister.
Already is.
I know. I'm just giving an example.
It's so big now that.
Like I said, most of these things corporations will do that. Look at a minister for police affairs, and you have an IG. A minister for defense, and you have a chief of defense staff. We have this tendency of creating overlaps when it comes to areas that we think things can be done.
And you'll find the IG, for example, not so happy working with Police Service Commission, not so happy working with the Minister of Interior.
And the police...
These things are happening consistently in this administration. And some of them will just go straight to the president. Just go straight to the president. You will bypass this fellow, you go straight to the president. I mean, it is wrong.
And that should not be happening.
It is wrong. We talked about Amechi and his Minister of State, who are not on talking terms. That the Vice President, to my knowledge, has resolved dispute a number of times. Between them, they simply can't work together.
Adisirika.
Yes. If Adisirika would not have some of his projects approved until he goes through the Ikwere man, maybe both of them will now realize that we need one another. We need one another. Then they will work together. Because it's one ministry, Ministry of Transportation. But they don't seem to work together.
We have to look at something. There's a lot of fault lines in our system in Nigeria. Like you said, all these things are fault lines. The moment you are under a minister who is the overall head of that place, any other memo that you are going to write should not be directed to the president, to the Federal Executive Council. When it gets to the Federal Executive Council and the president discovers that the memo is beyond the two of you, then a committee will be set up to look at it.
You know what someone even told
bypassing.
You know what someone told me? You know, like the NNPC that we are talking about, these are issues that some people fail to address. If some contracts are so huge and the GMD wants approval, and they need to be taken before the FEC. It is this minister that he has bypassed that should do that. Or are we saying that the president will now, in his capacity, now be presenting and talking about contracts
to the FEC?
At FEC?
No,
this is the minister. That is the minister that should bring it to FEC
and defend
it.
FEC member. All right. Chukwu Dumeme Owamadike, also known as Evans, is surely a man of conspiracies. He was successful in craftsmanship of kidnapping and extortion before his arrest on June the 2nd, 2017. A date most residents in Lagos will not forget in a hurry. He had successfully evaded arrest for years and continued to terrorize residents of Lagos State until he ran out of luck. Despite being in police custody, Evans continues to make news headlines. Since his arrest by men of the intelligence response team of the Inspector General of Police, he has allegedly conspired to escape from prison, but he wasn't successful. Even members of the police team that arrested him have not been spared of from public scrutiny. They were scolded for faking selfies with the suspected kidnapper in the past, and now brace up for another public backlash. The lawyer representing Evans, Olukoya Ogungbeje, claims that they extorted from his client more than 50 million naira and sexually assaulted his girlfriend. Of course, this claim has been denied by the police force. But what exactly is happening to the billionaire kidnapper? Let's start from the possibility of they went to Evans' house. We saw them. They went to his polished apartment in Magodo, and they would have sized him up and everything. They took him around and was arrested after, looking for him. And they took him. He was in Lagos at the point in time before they took him to Abuja, before he appeared in court for the first time. But how true can a policeman talk to Evans about settle loss? When you settle loss, we tell you we know how we wriggle you out of this problem, and that they asked for 50 million.
No, this kind of things, it's extremely difficult to say that Evans is lying or that is the police that is lying. It's extremely difficult. But what I expected the police to have done after the arrest of Evans was to come out with a list of items that they seized from him, because it's not a bad idea. When you go to that house, especially those are the things that I was using to commit crime, all those expensive phones and all that,
network blocker.
Some of them costing more than $30,000, it's expensive for all of those things. The items should have been made public.
Itemize it.
Yes, you say, okay, we arrested him, these are the things. They do it when they parade people. Abi? They'll say, we seized these guns, this and that. Even the army, when they kill Boko Haram people in an operation, they will say, we recover so from them. But the police kept mute about the things that
even the safe in his house
they recovered from this guy. They kept mute. So now the question that Evans and his people will be asking is, do they want to convert these things to their own? For example, I'm shocked that he even had up to 25 Mark trucks that he claimed that these were not listed as exhibits by the
trucks.
Yes, trucks.
Mark
Yes.
trucks. That means he invested the proceeds of crime. He invested wisely. His proceeds of crime. Because definitely you make money from this. So the thing is, if they had come at that time, they had announced that, look, these are the things that we seized from this big time kidnapper, then this would not be happening. I think it's because of the silence of the police that these guys have come out now. Even Nwude, the biggest 4199 Nigerian history. He too accused the EFCC of sitting on some of his properties that they seized.
I remember the guy that defrauded a Brazilian bank.
And he was saying, the policemen in EFCC and all that. Of course, the EFCC is dominated by police. That they help themselves to some of the things that they seized from him. It shouldn't be happening. The police should have come out. If they had come out, you and I would have had a mental picture of what they found on him. So that they cannot now come and add this and that. Because it's difficult then. Of course, he also mentioned the issue of some of his, like his in-law, that is still being locked up without trial and all that. He mentioned that. But I think that the police should come up now with what they have taken from this man. And if he says a particular officer extorted money from him, as he mentioned an officer here, then that officer has to be investigated. That's ASP Philip Udenewa. He said they took $10,000 from him. So that officer has to be investigated. And if found guilty, he should be punished.
GKB.
Well, the first thing that came to my mind, and of course the police through Abba Kyari also responded that he was trying to give them a bribe of 200 million naira that they resisted. This is what the Yorubas will call Olegbe Olegba. The police has a reputation of not being straightforward. when it comes to keeping evidence, especially those of the physical kind. Their history is littered with accusations by 419ers, by kidnappers, by even armed robbers, of the fact that certain things that the police claimed, that the police took from them, were not listed as part of what they want. But having said that, the lawyer himself has a case to answer. If somebody is raped, let her go to court. It's a different case. She's a Nigerian, she has all the rights. It doesn't matter whether she's girlfriend of a kidnapper or not. She has all the rights like another person. They should go to court immediately and get those who are responsible dealt with. If money has exchanged hands, the onus is on the police to prove it, to go to court and then get us out of the system so we can work. But as far as I'm concerned, we've not seen the end of this story.
Tuna Baton, why will it take this long? I thought the police, they kept him in custody, and keeping him in custody, I thought that would give them ample time to be able to gather everything they want to gather. And yes, they've arraigned him, our judicial system as usual. Well, till this story dies down, till another event overshadows it, this is what we keep getting.
I think like Jide said, I don't know why things that are so simple, we find it very difficult to do in Nigeria because we are just not sincere. Before you can be diligent in your duty, you have to have a dose of sincerity. What is it? I could remember in 1979, my uncle's house, apartment, the man who took the apartment, he disappeared for 18 months. You know, my uncle's so conservative, he did not allow us to open that apartment. We now went to the police, got a court order. We opened the apartment in the presence of about 3 police officers. They made an itemized everything that was in the apartment, and police signed, and they carted away so that we can rent out the apartment. This is what the police should have done in the normal state. That was why I said sincerity begets diligence. If you are not sincere, you cannot be diligent in your work. We are not indicting the police, but there's also a saying in my place that, you know, what is happening now, the hunted is now the hunter. The man is gradually turning the table against the police.
He knows he is finished.
Because he's gradually turning the table.
Just to look for people to
go down with him against the police. One would have expected that if he had taken the police about 2 years to get this man, to arrest him physically, he should not have also taken another 6 months to present concrete evidence of his culpability before the court of law. October. So it is now almost 5 months, and they are yet to put down a list of what they have done. Like I said, on the day of the arrest, when they got to his apartment, there was no resistance in that particular apartment. No. They had enough reason or enough opportunity to itemize everything that is in that building before you take the occupier of that building away. He was not arrested as he was arrested inside that building. So if the police had made a list of all what they had in that building and presented in the court of law and signed it, then you won't have any opportunity. But like I said, if there's no sincerity, it is now affecting the diligence, prosecution of the case. And if there's no diligence, the man can wriggle away with the
left gaps.
I have Kachikwu. Kachikwu is calling us from River State. Thank you for joining us, Kachikwu.
Good evening, my brother.
Good evening, Kachikwu.
Yes, first of all, please, you people should be helping us taking our calls, please.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm sure my producers and directors, they are listening to you.
Please, I want you people to help us tell this government that we love them and we will really, really support them in whatever they are doing. And I want to advise the journalists, please stop, removing Paul from Peter. They are the same. Presidency and the president, what is the difference? Let us tell our president that people trusted him and everything he is doing, people believe he's doing the right thing. But the way the people he speaks and wherever he thinks them are doing things, he's not talking good about him. So let's tell him that he is the one. He appoints them. He knows them before he appoints them. We don't know them. And he should really work with them and tell them what to do.
Thank you, Kachikwu. Thank you for your contribution, Kachikwu.
Very passionate.
Kachikwu was talking about, that we should not divide the presidency and the president. It is one, but they are two different. The president is an individual, and the presidency is all the components that make up the distance.
Well, anyway, the president personifies the presidency.
The bureaucracy of the seat of power. It's actually presidency.
Okay, Babajide, now, this famous kidnapper, when you look at, immediately he was caught in 2nd of June, we saw this high profile, those ransom he was collecting, $1 million and everything. And are you sure that our regular policemen, that they are being owed salary or that they are underpaid, they will not look at the $1 million that this man has collected
So far.
and his investments all across, and be tempted that we can actually help you and a way to fleece him?
It will take massive grace of God for someone to see opulence, to see obscene wealth, as we saw in that guy's house, and not be tempted.
It's a class.
You will need more than 1 million hectoliters of anointing. Honestly. To not want to help yourself to know the things that you see there. And even if that happens, it will not be the first time. Because you've seen people who will say, oh, what the police actually found in my house when they raided my house was more than what was declared.
Yes.
We crave for a police that we can trust absolutely. But we have not reached that level. I know that in terms of motivation and in terms of equipment at their disposal, the IG's team is what you call, the IG team is like Saddam Hussein's Republican Guard. They had the best equipment.
Yes.
They are the best trained as well, the most trusted.
I think they are motivated too.
They are motivated, you know. So you do not expect such to happen, but they are human beings. And human beings from time to time are prone to errors, are subject to greed and other things. So I'm not saying that this particular set of guys, you know, have demonstrated greed, have no proof of that. It's difficult to come and talk about what you don't have proof of. But I am
Looking at it from
disappointed that they didn't come clean. For example, we know they showed us the SIM card cutting machine and other things that they found. But some of the...
And you opened some of the safes he had in his house.
Yes, and
So
they
why
told
don't
us
you get
that
all the
he had different phone lines, he had phones that made it difficult for them to track him and all that. But they should have let us know everything that they found in his house. Because look, this guy will go to jail. He's already pleaded guilty to conspiracy and kidnapping. And there are other cases against him. Not less than 7 other cases in different states. So he will still go to court. I mean, he will still go to jail. He will still be convicted in other cases, I suspect. And he could even be convicted for murder when the case of murder is brought against him. So he knows that he's finished as a person. So definitely, he doesn't want to go down alone. We've seen a soldier arrested for working with him. In fact, it would be a miracle if all these years, this guy didn't have people in the police who were helping him to evade arrest. That if he didn't use the police and he evaded arrest for this long, then he must really be a genius.
GKB, rounding off this?
Yeah, the onus is on the police right now because the man has accused, and the police has a reputation, if I can use that word, to protect in cases like this. But I think this is just the first salvo from the Evans camp. I expect more damning accusations as the cases progress.
Before he eventually goes to jail.
Yeah, it's going to drag everybody. We'll try everything at the police, including the kitchen sink, just to make sure that it doesn't go down alone.
I think this is another test case for the police to try as much as possible to be above board, so that because incidents like this will still happen, maybe in the next 1 year or 6 months, somebody somewhere will still want to compromise the police. I think the guy is trying desperately to compromise the police and disrupt the system. But that means the Nigerian police have to be above board and try as much as possible to cover whatever tracks that characters like this, who has put lives of many people in danger, to escape justice. So we have to commend the police for even arresting him in the first instance. We have to commend them for going through somebody who's so wealthy like this to evade arrest. We have to commend the police, but you have to go the extra mile by perfecting all their records and ensure that this man will not hang them in the court of law.
Julie, they say justice delayed is justice denied. I'm not too comfortable with the administration of criminal justice system. It could go on and on and on, and this is not what we want.
Well, I cannot say justice has been delayed in this case because
it's been deferred.
The justice has really not been delayed because when he pleaded guilty, I learned that his lawyer said that he made a mistake. But it's on record. It's on record. And that he has pleaded guilty is in the court's record. And all that is left is for the judge to come to sentence him. So since he has pleaded guilty to kidnapping and conspiracy, so it means that justice can take its course within 6 months at least. You know, so if we can convict a big-time kidnapper like him in under 1 year, then it should send a clear message
for
to
those who
other
are making
kidnappers out
kidnapping a big industry.
Yes, because
those who are expanding that industry. He's a role model.
He's the Magaji of kidnappers, and now he's going to jail. So the others should know that their days are numbered.
I want to thank you, Tunde Abaton, for being part of this edition of Journalist Hangouts. Ganika Idebalogun GKB.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming late.
Yeah.
Thank you. We hope that you come late.
Yeah, you have to give me a silence.
Get me a pilot.
Okay.
And
and me and Babajide, we do this every other day, and that's it on Journalist Hangouts. Join us for another interesting episode of the program tomorrow, but you can also watch the repeat broadcast tonight by 11 p.m. on all our platforms. That's those platforms you can see on your screen. You can watch 11 p.m. and probably very early tomorrow between 5 and 6. And you can also watch Journalist Hangouts on YouTube. That's youtube.com/tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozubaku. See you tomorrow. God bless Nigeria.